Hello and welcome into our third installment of the Borderline Sports podcast. As always, my name is Steve, and I'm here with my buddy Josh here. And today we're going to recap the other 8 NFL games that we have coming up here in week number 2. It's week 2 already, Josh. I feel like this is the time where the NFL season starts flying by. Hold on tight, buckle up, because here we go. How you doing?
Oh man, trying to hold on to my butt as best I can because this is to your point, man. It blinked my eyes. And It was Monday night, and we had a real late game to finish that one off. And next thing I know, it's Thursday, and we're already set halfway through, ready for week two.
hmm
I'm fired up, man.
Yeah, I
Fired
mean,
up.
as we record this, we're about an hour away from kickoff between Bengals Browns. Looking forward to seeing Joe Burrow again, which we covered in the previous podcast. But let's just dive right into it. First up here, we're going to discuss the Bills, the 1-0 Bills at the 0-1 Dolphins. The line is Bills favored by 6 points. Over under is 41. This game will be in sunny, hot, and humid Miami. What are your initial thoughts here?
Oh, I love this matchup. All on unfortunately one one side of the ball. Um, I think the Bills are honestly just gonna kind of dominate here. I know the Miami defense has improved as of last year, but I think Josh Allen being able to just tuck and run that football, he's just going to be a fantasy stud this week, and I think they're going to be able to put up quite a few points and then end up just trying to savor that clock and run it out. I'm hoping it's competitive, but with a 41 point over under, dude, I'm still tempted to take the under on this one. I
I
don't
agree
think there
with
are
you
going to be a
there.
lot of
Yeah,
points.
I would take the under as well. Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins offense didn't really do too well against, granted, a good New England defense in New England last week. Yeah, Josh Allen, you expect him to be Josh Allen, scramble for a few yards here or there, maybe a touchdown. An important note here to focus on it from a fantasy perspective is the deep ball. The Dolphins were one of the worst teams last year against deep passes downfield. Specifically speaking, John Brown is a popular wide receiver for this week. Last year, he averaged 27 points per game against the Dolphins. Something to look to forward to this weekend, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. But that being said, the Dolphins do have a very expensive secondary, so it'll be interesting to see how those matchups really line up.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the long ball was a problem last year. My only concern is both. I mean, we kind of saw this last week. It was actually nice to see you saw John Brown and Stephon Diggs, their new addition, kind of share the workload, which I wasn't really expecting. I think on our original podcast, man, I thought Diggs would be a top 10 wide receiver, which he was. I don't know if anyone saw the first game. He was almost a touchdown away. He was tackled on like the 2 yard line. He would have had his top 10 day, but they both had a lot of targets going their way. So I'm curious. I feel like one of them is going to burst a big long touchdown. My concern is I don't know which one it's gonna be. I'm thinking it's Diggs just because he's their new addition, but he doesn't have the same rapport that John Brown does with Josh Allen that they've had for the last year or so. So I'm curious if you had to pick, let's say you have, I mean, I doubt this is, most fantasy rosters. If you had John Brown and Stephon Diggs and you had one spot left, who are you starting?
Can I say Cole Beasley instead? Just because I know the Dolphins have two really good corners and they paid a lot of money for them. And Cole Beasley out of the slot, maybe against a weaker linebacking core. Kyle Van Noy is more of a run stopping defender versus a pass defender. So, um, you know, I, either way, I think one of the three, you're sitting pretty. I would definitely look for them in like a daily fantasy perspective. And then, Devin Singletary as a running back. My question here, and I have to deal with this personally, is with the Dolphins running back core.
Oof,
Jordan
yeah.
Howard and Matt Breida were popular picks. Jordan Howard, you think the power back, goal line guy, but in week 1, it was Gaskin who got the majority of the work, and not Matt Breida, the speedy guy from San Francisco last year. I have Breida in 2 of my leagues, and I'm hoping this week I can see more out of him, more touches to justify me picking him up.
Yeah, I feel bad for you there. Not in the sense that, I tried to avoid Miami's backfield for the exact reason that I didn't want to end up in the predicament that you're in. I thought about it in a couple leagues about taking shots on either Jordan Howard or Matt Breida, but with just the way Miami's been, they have not really had one running back that's been their favorite. And it's not like they're scoring a lot of points, you know what I mean? I feel like they're moving their way into the rebuild process. Like this is year 2, right? They're awful year 1. They got their QB. I feel like they're going to struggle for most of the year until they know that they aren't going to make the playoffs and then thrust in that new QB to get his feet wet, so to speak. So I just don't see him down at the end zone, and I'm just trying to avoid him at all costs if I can. Like, if you can pivot, is that a possibility?
You know what? I was really thin at running back, and I traded a wide receiver. I forget who. It was a Giants wide receiver. I want to say it might have been Slayton, but
Oofta.
I don't think it was because I'd be really kicking myself if it was Slayton. Might have been another guy. I'd have to double check. Too many leagues, too many players to keep
Yep.
track of. But we'll move right
Well,
along. Point granted, though. Too many cooks in the kitchen there in the Dolphins' backfield with a
one of
suspect
them
offense
might
too.
end up doing well, but that Bills is a scary defense. If I can, I'm avoiding him. The only thing I do want to comment on is I'm really curious to see Zach Moss if he gets a bigger workload. I just Devin Singletary and Zach Moss didn't look all that great. I want to see who gets those goal line carries because that's who's
Mhm.
going to make them valuable going forward and potentially a waiver wire pickup in Zach Moss.
Yep, and possibly with the Dolphins running backs one more time here, if Tua comes in at some point this season, that offense could look totally different, and maybe
Oh,
they add
for
more
sure.
life into the or more value there.
I
All
can
right,
see
next.
Matt Burita getting a little bit of a boost if that happens.
Sure. Yeah, speedy guy, speedy guy. So I think we both have the Bills there, maybe to cover. I think we're both looking at the under, and then as we noted, a couple fantasy standouts there. Next up here on the list, we have an NFC matchup here: the 0-1 Atlanta Falcons at the 0-1 Dallas Cowboys. Vegas has this game kind of close. It's -4 over to the Cowboys with a 52.5 over under. What are your initial thoughts here? I mean, both the Falcons' air attack was strong last week against Seattle, and then Dallas lost another close game, as we alluded to in the previous podcast.
Yeah, I love it. It's going to be one of my favorite games to watch this week. I'll dive in a little bit later about why, but my initial thoughts are I think this is going to be a Matt Ryan year. I don't know what it is with him, but one year, it seems like every even year that we start the football season, he lights it up in yardage. He doesn't necessarily get you all the touchdowns, but I mean, 450 yards. I think he's leading the NFL by almost 100 yards already in week 1. I think he's going to be gunslinging that rock all season long. And I don't think the Cowboys defense really scares me. And then you have weapons, just some awesome weapons on both sides, and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And then you got the trio, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. Oh, I'm starting up all 5. If I could, I would start all 5 of them on my damn team. This 52.5 over under, I take the over. I take the over.
Yeah, I'd be leaning toward the over as well. Another indoor game, so no weather, fast track there in Dallas. And an interesting thing with the Atlanta Falcons, a name that keeps coming up over and over again, a guy that no one's really heard of, but he was one of Matt Ryan's favorite targets toward the end of last year, and had 12 more targets here in Week 1. Is the 2-year vet Russell Gage out of Louisiana State.
Love it.
Just a guy to keep an eye on, daily fantasy, maybe get him cheap and spend money elsewhere, but definitely someone to take advantage of a suspect Dallas secondary, especially when he's coming out of the slot.
Exactly. Oh, love that. Love that. Great sleeper. I would honestly probably like if you had to pick Gage or CeeDee Lamb, they're both the wide receiver threes on the team. I think
Hmm.
the talent is. I mean, I think Julio is better than Amari. I think Calvin Ridley's a little bit better than Michael Gallup, but I think CeeDee Lamb's tad better than Russell Gage. But that doesn't
Yeah,
mean Russell Gage is going to have a worse game. So if you
no.
had to pick, who are you throwing in there?
I would pick CD Lamb simply because I know Dallas wants to get him going. Jerry Jones is gonna like you keep mentioning like players getting scripted out. I think CeeDee Lamb is gonna be scripted in. They want to get him, his first career touchdown reception at home against a bad defense. Jerry Jones showing that he's, picked the right guy. I think this might be the week for him to show us what he's got.
Ooh, do I smell a bet here? I'll
Or
I'll
what do you
take
think? Did
that.
you
I'll
like Gage more?
Do you know? So, do you think CeeDee Lamb's gonna get his first touchdown this week?
Yeah.
You ready to put your money where your mouth is? You want to
Well,
bet on
let
that?
me pull up the old Bovada here and see what that prop is.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they have it for just a touchdown or if, oh, by the way, guys, for our podcast, all our over unders, all our lines or spreads, we all go through we Bovada. It's just what we do personally, and we figured if we're gonna be talking to you guys about this stuff, why aren't we going to share what we're actually doing and what sites we're using and what their actual numbers are? Just trying to remind everybody in case it's their first time jumping in.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're working on getting a promo code or referral link for our listeners to sign up for your home Bovada account. Takes only a couple minutes, really
Sponsor
easy.
us.
Yeah, just make a $25 deposit and play around with it. I mean, we do $5 bets here and there, a buck here, a buck there. I mean, we're not gambling the world. I mean, obviously, do what makes the most sense for you financially. But if you knew Josh and I were hard workers, and betting on sports for $5 here, $10 there is not the end of the world.
Oh, especially we like to do parlays, right? So we'll make
Big
four
parlay
bets
guy.
for like a $2 and potential to win like 60 or something, depending on what odds, who you think's gonna win, blah blah blah. So
All right, so I'm actually looking up the prop bets here. Just give me a minute, but until then, who do you got in this game? It sounds like we both have the over. Definitely like a first half over, something I would look for. Uh, you'd hope the Cowboys, could pull this out. You'd think.
I think they're gonna win.
Okay.
I think they're gonna get ahead. I think Zeke's gonna do his thing, and I think Falcons are the Falcons, man. They're going to try to catch up, but I could be wrong. And they got a
Hmm.
Gurley now too, and Gurley, surprising looked pretty well in week 1. So I'm curious to see how his durability is going to go because it wouldn't surprise me if they just run him into the ground on that 1 year contract,
Sure.
either
Yeah,
to prove that
absolutely.
he's healthy or to prove that you know he did okay, but probably shouldn't be playing a ton of football going forward.
Yeah, and it opens up the passing game. A good running game always opens up the passing game. So,
For sure. So I'll definitely take the like you're opposing. So if you think I don't really mean just a bet. I just mean between you and me. It's a possibility, but I'll go against you that I don't think CeeDee Lamb gets his first touchdown.
no,
Watch it be the first play of the game.
yeah, right. Deep ball.
But yeah, let's make this a little fun. Like I'll just bet with you. We can
Sure.
keep like a running total goal. I'll mark this down, and then we can while you're still looking up that Bovada.
I don't see that prop that CeeDee Lamb touchdown or not. So
Oh, that's
I'd
unfortunate.
put 5 on it just to have fun with it. I think he does score this week.
All right, I like it. All right, so next up we got the Washington football team and the Cardinals, both 1-0. Cardinals are 7-point favorites at home. We got a 47.5 point over under.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts about this game, man?
Well, initially you think Washington football team, bad team, Cardinals, good offense. But statistically speaking, the Washington football team and obviously last year the Redskins uh, have played good receivers really well and have limited good receivers to less than what you would think. That being said, man, can they stop Hopkins? Can they stop Larry Fitzgerald? Can they stop Christian Kirk? Can they stop Kenyon Drake? And then all that being said, you still have the quarterback Kyler Murray and his feet and his scrambling ability. I think the Washington football team has their hands full. But it would not surprise me, just based on history, that Washington is able to keep this close, at least for the first couple quarters.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that the pass rush is going to be a big problem for Murray. In
Hmm.
the Washington football team, they might not have the best offense, but they've got some stellar playmakers, and their defense is pretty damn solid, especially that front line with Chase Young now.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kyler Murray is scrambling a hell of a lot more. It's just, does he get tackled in the backfield? Or does he squeeze by and get you those, 10, 20 rushing yards that just make him so valuable? Question for you though. So on the Washington football side, I mean Cardinal side, you're starting Hopkins, you're starting Kenyon Drake, you're starting Kyler Murray. Um, I would be hesitant about Kirk or Larry Fitzgerald. I just don't see this as a big air it out game. I see Cardinals as going ahead and then running the ball. But on the other side of it, what about McLaurin or Gibson? I was hoping to see more from Gibson last week, but he flashed. What would you think? Would you start either of these guys, or are you going to sit them this week?
Oh man, it's tough. I would, McLaurin, I think, is a guarantee start just because his
Okay.
talent level in our league in sleeper app, he's projected 14.3 points. Yeah, Gibson.
They're
I'm
both
guessing
on
in
my
most
team.
fantasy lineups, Gibson's probably like a running back 3 or flex. So hopefully you can find a better, a more opportunistic matchup there.
Who would you play over Gibson? Would you play Mark Ingram over Gibson?
It's funny you mentioned Mark Ingram.
Oh yes, I know he's on your team. Exactly why I asked. Ravens are playing the Texans. Who would
Yep.
you rather start,
Did
Gibson
you
or,
see I put
or
him on the
Mark
trade
Ingram?
block too?
I did.
Um, oh man.
Might have to take advantage of that. I think you're
Yeah,
overreacting a
I
tad bit
would.
there.
Oh, Ingram,
Mhm.
Ingram, Ingram. Just because I don't think Houston's defense is any good anyway, and I do think that Baltimore wants to get their number one running back going. Peyton Barber got a lot of love last week. Dobbins, the only reason why Dobbins, even though he had like 10 or 12 attempts, he got the attempts within the 5 yard line and was able to score them both. That's why he got the fantasy points. It's not like Dobbins was the bell cow.
Nope, but
Um,
he got the goal line attempts.
he did, and that's important. Can Washington get to the goal line though?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate a little here.
Sure. Yeah.
I would definitely start Mark Ingram this week. I think, to your point, man, he's a touchdown-based running back. He's not going to get you a ton of yards, especially the way that team runs the ball with Lamar Jackson. It's hard to be the rushing leader when you got Lamar Jackson as your QB. That being said, I think he gets into the touchdown. I think he gets in the end zone this week. He gets a touchdown for you. I think he's going to be more valuable than Gibson. Just curious what your thoughts. The only other thing I was curious about, do you think Hopkins, I mean, he got like a 30 to 40% market share last week. How many did he get? Like 14 catches too? Something ridiculous. Do you think he's going to repeat again, or do you think he's going to struggle this week?
Oh, I think he'll repeat. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best receivers in the league.
I'm not denying the talent. I'm just saying there's like
No,
a top
yeah,
10
I mean,
receiver. Do you think he's going to repeat?
he's gonna get
That's a lot of
his.
that's a big target share.
He's gonna get his. My red flag here with this offense so far, granted it's one game, is Christian Kirk. I had a lot of hopes for him. I know the coaching staff had a lot of hopes for him. He, again, in a daily fantasy perspective, if you're going for boom or bust or trying to nickel and dime your way into a good lineup, Christian Kirk might be that guy because he's going to be matched up against their number 3 corner slot guy, where Hopkins is going to get the double team on the outside. So it's something to keep your eye on, and I do personally hope to see Christian Kirk brings it around because I have some difficult choices to make when it comes to him starting for me this week.
No, I agree with you there. Yeah, just about everything. The only thing I'm hoping, well, I don't know. We're gonna find out whether Hopkins was just getting open so much and so easily that that's why he was being targeted so much, or if they're gonna keep feeding him the way they are, regardless of how open he is. And I think that's gonna dictate whether or not Kirk is gonna get a hell of a lot more work because I think he's a good receiver, and I think that last week just kind of did him a little dirty. Um, that being said, we're moving on to Chiefs and Chargers. They're at LA, but it's still a 9-point favorite for the Chiefs, 47.5 point over under. I don't have a whole lot to say about this game except start every goddamn fucking Chief you can.
You say
What are
that.
your thoughts?
I read a statistic, didn't write it down, of course, because it was on Twitter, and I was probably doing seven other things at once. But just like Washington, the Chargers have had a really good track record against Patrick Mahomes and limiting, Mahomes being Mahomes. So again, something to keep your eye out on. Yes, it's hard not to start a Chief. I mean, let's just put it that way. Mahomes is coming off his
Name me
25th
one that you're
birthday.
not starting.
I'm not starting.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit of an egregious comment, but I'm saying you can take a deep, daily fantasy shot on Demarcus Robinson, and
Hmm.
then just for regular fantasy, you got Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, even Sammy Watkins. Would you start Sammy Watkins or Keenan Allen? I hate the fact that I'm saying this because I'll get burned, but I think I'm taking Sammy Watkins.
It's
The
yeah,
Chargers offense looks so bad.
yeah. I
So bad,
mean,
and they were not playing a great team last week. Now you're playing a superpower Super Bowl MVP in his firepower offense.
again on a turf field for faster runners there in LA. Yeah, that's a good question. And daily fantasy perspective, you might get more value out of Watkins because he's cheaper, and you might come out with the same amount of points. It did look like Watkins was Mahomes' favorite target week one. Not sure if that was a scheme thing or it's just Watkins really coming into his own, but something to keep an eye out on. I mean, if you have both, I think you start both, and hopefully in your lineup you have one way or another to get them both in.
Yeah, I don't trust Sammy Watkins, and I'll probably get burned for it, like I said. But everything looks like he's taking strides forward, like you said. So maybe he can be more like how Amari Cooper finally changed from a extremely boom bust to a stable wide receiver with the Cowboys.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to take the Chiefs here, right?
Oh, no question, not even
Yeah, I
close.
cover the spread. 9 points is a lot of points in the
I'll take
NFL.
it. I'll
Yeah,
fucking
probably like 31-17 or something,
I
just
don't
like
know
the
if I'll take
Texans game.
yeah, I don't know if I'll take the over. But until the Chargers offense do something different, because don't get me wrong, Keenan Allen is so good. He's
Hmm.
incredible wide receiver. I just don't think Tyrod's going to get it done, and I think when he panics, he runs. So you don't dump it off to your stellar running back pass catcher, and you don't look downfield. You put your head down in the sand and you run, and I think that's going to hurt the offense a hell of a lot more than help. I just don't see them doing a whole lot against the Chiefs. Their defense is going to get worn out. Points, 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 points.
A sleeper here in this game is if the Chargers are going to have any chance at winning this game, they're going to have to run the ball and keep Mahomes off the field,
Yep.
right? Their bell cow in this situation is not going to be Eckler. Eckler is more of the scat
Ooh,
back. He's more of the, dump
I
it off
agree.
kind of guy. I'm looking at Joshua Kelly as an opportunity here to be a really cheap daily fantasy option, and get carries and get a lot of carries and red zone targets because they're going to want to keep the ball on the ground, get that clock running, get those chains moving. Last week Kelly had 12 attempts here, 60 yards, 5 yards per carry with a touchdown. So something to keep an eye out on.
I agree so much that I had picked him up and dropped Justin Jackson in our league. So agree with you
Wow,
100% there.
there you
Um,
go, look
I
at
was
that.
reading, yeah, I was
Didn't
reading
even know that.
comments. I was reading comments from Austin Eckler. He is even giving I believe he's a rookie, praise on how studly of a running back he's been in
He
that
is a rookie.
backfield.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you 100%.
Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, something to keep an eye out on. Something to watch during red zone. As it's flipping through, and it'll probably come to this game a lot just because Patrick Mahomes is, Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
All right. Well, now, moving into this next AFC matchup here, it's an interesting one. It's the Baltimore Ravens at the Houston Texans. Ravens are a touchdown favorite, 51.5 over under. And you have noted here almost upset of the week. Are you sniffing something?
I believe there also is a question mark at the end of the
Upset of the week?
maybe. Look, I still think Bill O'Brien's got a chip on his shoulder, and to be honest, I feel bad for any team who has to start out the season, especially a COVID season, facing off Thursday night prime time against the Chiefs, who pretty much had like all of their repeated starting players, give or take a lineman or two, um, and then adding their first round stud running back. So I think that was a hell of a lot to handle. But then you saw the Texans come to life towards the end of it. David Johnson got used well. I, I'm just saying, I know how dominant the Ravens were, but I think people are starting to figure them out. I think they're starting to figure Lamar Jackson out. And I think if the Texans can, to your point, you keep the ball out of his hands and you can run the ball well, which I think they can probably do now with David Johnson, they have a chance here. So yeah, I'll do it. I'll say this, it's a potential upset of the week. I wouldn't take the spread. That's my comment. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Texans got a shot here, and they're at home, man. So, but no
Yeah,
fans. I don't know what that situation in Houston. We'll find
this
out.
this might be a teaser game. Tease the Ravens a couple points or something like that.
Mhm.
I think the Ravens are going to win and win easily. I just don't think the Texans are anything special. I don't think they've ever been anything special. Um, Deshaun Watson's going to be Deshaun Watson. He's going to get his, but I think it's going to be just a duplicate of week one, where maybe a little low scoring early, and then the better team shows their hand, gets out in front, and then the Texans score in garbage time. Maybe a one score game. If that's the case, then the Texans will cover that spread. But that remains to be seen. And I think without the home field advantage here, Baltimore is going to run right up and down the field on them.
No, good points. All good points, and that's why I had the question mark there. I
Hmm.
think this game is either going to be really close or a blowout.
Hmm. Any kind of fantasy, guys
Yeah,
that
I get what you're saying.
sleeper guys.
Well, we got the obvious starts here. Look, you got Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson. Start them up. I mean, you locked and loaded with Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson every week.
Hmm.
Definitely David Johnson. I am curious who I want to see do well in this game is Brandon Cooks. And I think a big problem with why the Texans struggled last week, Deshaun Watson was not spreading the ball out. He was just hyper targeting Will Fuller, and Will Fuller was not getting it done the way Hopkins can. So if they can spread out the ball, I could see Brandon Cooks getting a big play here and there when they break past the secondary and potentially with a touchdown. So if I had to pick somebody else outside of those guys, I mean, Hollywood, I'd start. We already kind of talked about Mark Ingram. I think he's going to fall in the end zone. Um, I think you can start up J.K. Dobbins too, man. Like I told you last week,
Might
the,
start both. I
the
have
kids.
both.
Seriously, I remember that, and I remember telling you, man, the kid's got upside. And last week he got both of the most of all of the carries in the red zone, if not all of them. I don't have the exact stats out in front of me. I'm not trying to put out or boast or hype anything up that isn't, but he got the two rushing touchdown. He didn't have a lot of yards. He got the work. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. I also wouldn't be surprised if Ingram went into the locker room and was like, "What the fuck, dude? We're mine." So
Yeah.
shot in the dark, I think you can play them both. To your point, I don't think the Texans are going to be that great. I think the running is going to be essential in this game to who's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Who's controlling the ball the most, and it could come down to the game. Who's got the ball last?
Yep,
Could be one
who's
of
got
those
those big
shootouts. So,
rushing bursts, right? You get the
uh,
23-yard rush, and then all of a sudden your offense starts opening up. And the secondary of the other team starts panicking a little bit.
yeah.
And it could go either way. Maybe Lamar Jackson takes off for a 40-yard run. Who knows? But we'll
And
find
that's
out
that's going
Sunday.
to be the game of the week there. CBS 4:25 Eastern time kickoff.
Love it.
Um, all right. Next up here is the Sunday night football matchup. A pretty interesting matchup here, especially after what Bill Belichick said today. We've got the Patriots at Seahawks. Not sure if you caught this, but Belichick was pretty much just raving about Russell Wilson, how he thinks he's extremely underrated, probably the best in the game,
Is
this, that, and that. So And I agree. I mean, Russell Wilson's been a stud ever since he transferred from North Carolina to Wisconsin. He's been nothing but superb personality. Things aside, I know he's either likable or hateable, but
He's got a
uh,
weird couple of weird videos, but love the
yeah,
guy.
yeah, good quarterback nonetheless. One of our favorites to be represented in the NFC, whether it's in the championship game or the Super Bowl.
He is,
Um,
in my opinion, the best QB.
We've
Just
got the
have
Seahawks minus 440 45 over under. I'm taking the Seahawks to cover the spread here in Seattle. I'm probably taking the under. I'm gonna have to see it from Cam Newton to believe the Patriots offense can be much of anything. Yes, their defense is good, but Cam Newton didn't really impress me last week against the Miami Dolphins. So it'll be fun to watch and see what we really have here out of Cam and that New England offense.
yeah. Why the yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the only concern is he wasn't passing those touchdowns. He was rushing them in. And my concern is I think the Seahawks have a better defense than Miami. So I think he's going to struggle a little bit more and he's got to find success through the air. And I know you got Julian Edelman there and N'Keal Harry could potentially have a decent game, I guess, but I'm not confident in any of that. I think you're right. I think the Seahawks will cover. I'll take this spread easy. I think the Seahawks win by a touchdown at least. I think with
Hmm.
DK and with Tyler Lockett, and I think Chris Carson. I think he's gonna have a big game, man. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm putting down a bet. He's gonna be a top 12 running back this week.
Yeah, top 12.
Top
All right.
12, man. I
All right. Well, yeah,
solid
that's a
last
bold
week with the
statement.
Jacobs pick. Look at that. I said top 5. That was ballsy. He ends up being the number 1 overall.
Yeah.
I think Chris
Top 12.
Carson is going to be a top, yeah, RB1 is basically like the bet.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
he's
DK Metcalf over the top maybe, and Tyler Lockett. Maybe we'll see a little Greg Olson action for the Seahawks. That'd be fun to watch. Greg Olson's, he could be a Hall of Famer for how much effort he's put into his NFL career. So yeah, it'll be a fun game to watch. It's a really nice Sunday night game to wrap up the day of binging football. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
who you
Um,
start on the
who do I?
Seahawks side of the ball and the Patriots.
Yeah, Lockett, Metcalf, if you got him, Edelman, N'Keal Harry, maybe not N'Keal Harry. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't know.
not sure. I'm not even sure about Edelman, to be honest with you.
No,
Um, I'm
I
not
can
even
tell
sure
you
about any of the Patriots running backs. You could start Cam Newton. I think just scramble ability, extra points there. It could be one of those Bill Belichick games where Rex Burkhead gets 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
So, yeah, tough to really pick a Patriot there, just with the inconsistency of the weapons. It's not Tom Brady anymore, so you really don't know, even after one game.
Oh, I agree with you. Start Cam. If you've got Edelman, you're probably gonna have to start him because you grabbed him between like rounds like 5 and 8. I hope.
Hmm.
I hope he didn't reach. You probably got to play him. I mean, he's gonna be the number 1 target, hopefully. So go with it. Otherwise, totally agree. Moving on, we got the Saints and the Raiders, and they're at Vegas. I am excited to see the stadium. Saints are still favored by 6 points, and it's a 49 over under. I believe we mentioned it yesterday. Michael Thomas is actually out with a high ankle sprain, and most likely for a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
With all that in mind, what are your thoughts on this game? Are you now afraid of the Saints' offense against the
No,
Raiders, or
no, not at all. Uh, you know, uh, I'm really excited to see the new stadium. Um, that's going to be awesome. I really wish fans were going to be there for it. I'm just a big fan of the silver and black. I think it's iconic, and happy that they moved to Vegas first of all. So that'll
yep,
be
can't
really
wait to
cool.
go
And
there?
I can't wait to go there as well. You're right. Michael Thomas did not practice today with that high ankle sprain. Emmanuel Sanders did not practice either. That could be just veteran take the day off or so, but we'll see. The injury report is due to come out here in a little bit for the Saints, but you have to imagine that this is going to be Kamara. The Raiders have a beat up defense right now as well. I would expect the Saints to go in there and win easily. I would, though, I would change my opinion if there were fans in the crowd here, but unfortunately, there will not be. What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
No, I agree. I mean, Raider Nation's any home game with all those fans screaming, especially like a new stadium. I gotta imagine that that sound just explodes throughout. I mean, they build these stadiums so they get louder while you're in
Mhm.
there. It is awesomely scary. But yeah, I agree with pretty much most of what you said, if not all of it, man. I hope it's a shootout. I expect it to be. I expect the Raiders to get at least 23 points. I expect the Saints to be around 31 as kind of like the end result of the game. So I think Vegas Bovada did well with the spread. I'm probably taking the over. Um, it's just the fantasy stuff that I am so lost on because the Saints are hurt. You're starting Kamara. I'd start Drew Brees as well. You got to start Josh Jacobs. He's always going to be a plug and play for me. But who else are you really gonna be thrilled about in this game?
Same thing as I was saying earlier with the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb. Henry or Ruggs. It was Henry Ruggs. Yeah, Henry Ruggs.
Yep.
Uh, Same kind of thing. Scripted maybe for his first touchdown. At least attack him. They try to get him as many targets as possible. He only had 5 last week before he left the game, but that was early in the game, so it was clear that they wanted to use Ruggs. But you got to think that Sean Payton is going to take him away. And really just focus on Josh Jacobs and limit that run game. So then you have to might think of, okay, who else could have a good game? I Maybe Hunter Renfro could sneak a touchdown in there. He's a great route runner. He's kind of that slot receiver for them. Um, on the Saints side of the ball, Emmanuel Sanders looks like he's going to be the number one receiver. Traquan Smith, I probably wouldn't start this week. He only had one target last week. He's going to be the number 2 receiver for the Saints this week. And then if you've got either tight end, Waller or Cook, I would start them as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely start both those tight ends. Both these quarterbacks like safety nets.
Hmm.
The only thing that I'm curious, I know Henry Ruggs is potentially hurt a little bit, so I am gonna keep a real close eye on Brian Edwards. I think he was the third round pick for the Raiders this year. He was being talked about all camp as potentially being a starter, and then just poof, like kind of out of nowhere, he wasn't.
Yep.
So I don't know really what to believe. I'm just trying to give everybody, the insight that I know. I'd keep your eye out on him. I wouldn't start him or anything, but like for potential waiver wire pickups, if you have space this week, avoid waiting next week. Scoop him up. Drop a player like I dropped Chris Thompson and I'm picking up Brian Edwards. I don't think Chris Thompson's going to do much, especially with the 100% of that Jacksonville backfield going to James Robinson. I'm going to pick up Brian Edwards, and maybe he's nothing. Maybe it's not worth it. I'll drop him next week. That's fine. But if he is, this is what helps you win and go towards fantasy championship.
Hmm.
Pounce on it. Maybe maybe he turns out well for you, man. Give it a go. That's my only other comment about this game.
Okay. All right. You got a winner?
Ah, yeah, I'm taking the Saints, man.
Taking the
With
Saints covering the spread?
oh, I'll take the over for points. I don't know about the spread. I think you could see some serious garbage time and a potential like onside kick to try to get a field goals difference of points back for the Raiders. I do see a world where the Raiders win this game though. If they come out and the Saints are kind of battered on offense, the defense can hold their own.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit if I had to put my money betting on the Saints though.
I am feeling crazy. Um,
Mm, is
Six
this your
points.
almost upset?
6 points. Raiders under. I'll take the points. I'll take 6 points for the Raiders and the under. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Just one of those things. I don't know. The Saints
Gotcha.
could still win the game. It could still be a 31-27 kind of ball game. It might not be that close. Um, if that's the case, obviously, then Saints will probably score and have more than a 6 point lead. But I'm more confident, I think, in the under in this game than I am
Okay.
the Raiders taking the points.
I can definitely see that. You're losing at least one really solid record-setting weapon. So, but dude, I think I'm not gonna lie. I kind of think we'll move on to the Vikings and Colts after this comment, but I think he might have been hurt before the game because he did not do shit throughout that whole game. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he did. I'm just thinking maybe it got aggravated a lot more towards the end of that game, and that's why you see Michael Thomas not doing so much week one. Um,
Mhm.
I hope that's not the case because then it's going to be a lingering injury that you're going to be scared to play him or not. And nobody wants that for the number one wide receiver.
So get this, Josh. This new fantasy league I was just talking about, it's a 6-person league.
Oh,
6.
oh my God. Is it?
This is insane. I have the 4th pick, unfortunately, so I'm kind of like right in the middle, but it starts in 4 minutes. So here we go. Might as well, right?
Yeah, I'd take Cook or Kamara.
5th league this year. Why not? All
Yeah,
right.
at
Anyway,
least
lastly, let's just
more
move on
so.
here. We're going on here about 40 minutes now.
To
I
anyone listening, do
I think
not
we
have a 6-team league
no,
ever.
I'm not gonna look at it too much. But all right, Vikings Colts. Your Vikings versus the Colts. 0-1 at 0-1. Colts are favored by 3 points, so Vegas has this game very close. 48.5 over under. I'm going to predict that you are heavy on the Colts offense this game. Am I right?
I like. Yes. And unfortunately, I just know too well that the Vikings defensive line is battered right now. And they've got a good pass rush, not the best run defense. And then their cornerbacks are all rookies, really, at this point. You lost 3 starters last year. That's a lot. And so, honestly, I am fired up. You got Jonathan Taylor, you start him up. You got T.Y. Hilton, you start him up. I'm even tempted to start, if you're in a deep enough league, Paris Campbell, the other big body wide receiver for the Colts. I can see Rivers not getting knocked down, and if he stands up there too long, he's going to be able to pick rookies apart. He's still a vet, still knows what he's doing. That being said, I think it's going to be just like last week. You're going to see a little bit of a shootout. So start up Cook, start up Thielen, and I'm really curious to see if we get a little bit more of a sprinkled dash from Justin Jefferson. Didn't see a whole hell of a lot, but I'm waiting for him or old BC Johnson, one of them, to really step into that number 2 role. Um, Dude, I'm taking the over. I'm not taking the spread. As much as I love the Vikings, I think they're going to struggle this week. I can see them going 0-2, and it pains me to say so.
I can feel your pain there. I really can. It's a tough start to the year. Packers and then Colts. Um, yeah, shoot, man. What are we gonna see out of Pip? Pip Rivers playing at home. You figure he's gonna be one more week more comfortable in the offense. They're gonna ride Jonathan Taylor. Every point that you just mentioned here is valid. It's gonna be a fun game to watch. It could be a shootout, which would I would sprinkle a little bit on the over here, and then I would also take the Colts -3 just because they're the home favorite. But I could be wrong there. If I had to choose either or, I think I would take the over versus betting on the spread. I hope this game is a shootout for fantasy purposes. But yeah, Adam Thielen is going to have a big game. T.Y. Hilton should have a big game, and even the guys below him. Justin Jefferson could have a big game.
I'm hoping.
Campbell, Pittman even could have a big game. And then
Yep,
obviously the 2 running backs, Devlin Cook and Jonathan Taylor.
you have to
Um,
start them.
Hey, you know what though? You know what though? Don't be mad because this could happen. One of those games, 2 kind of weird teams here. The tight ends could get a lot of love. Some Rudolph and Doyle action could be
Yes,
seen
they
here.
could.
So we'll see. Uh, I believe. Yep, Trey Burton's still hurt there. The Colts backup tight end. Man, he's had a rough couple of years since he
Yeah.
left the Eagles. But what are you gonna do? So, but That being said, good luck to your Vikings this weekend. It's going to be a tough matchup. Definitely don't want to start 0-2. But that being said, I think that really wraps up here the rest of this week 2 preview. We are about 20 minutes away from Bengals Browns. Can't wait to watch Joe Burrow. Hopefully we get some life out of Baker Mayfield here. But do you have any closing statements before we take it off?
No, man. I'm excited for week 2. We'll see what's going on, and I'm really looking forward. I got a few prospects that I'm hoping really shine this week, and that we get to see a little bit more from them. So, looking forward to the weekend, man.
My league here just started. Number 1 pick Christian McCaffrey on the clock. We get 30 seconds of pick here. Holy shit! All right, number 2 Saquon Barkley. Who's number 3 going to be? Zeke, Kamara, Henry. Ooh, do I take Edwards-Helaire? Oh, I don't know, man.
We'll
But
see you
I'll,
next
I'll let
week,
you I'll
bud.
let you guys know next
Have
week.
a good one.
See you later.
See you, bud.